Good morning, champions. How you doing? Today is a fantastic day in the recruiting gym because we've got Neil Carberry, the CEO of the Recruitment and Employment Confederation. Woo! Yeah! How you
Morning,
doing?
Alex.
How you
I'm
doing?
all
You
right.
well?
How are you? Yeah,
Yeah,
not bad. Apologies for inflicting the proto beard on you all. This sort of quieter week around what would normally be half term is the time I've finally given in to the kids' demand for me to grow a lockdown beard.
yeah. No, it's I've sort of everyone goes through to the point where you're like, this is going to be good. The problem is that because I'm on show every day, I'm sort of like, when do I shave? And for me, I hate shaving because I find it painful. But if I shave every day, it doesn't hurt that much. If I shave once every 2 weeks, it doesn't hurt that much. But if I leave it 3 to 4 days,
Yeah,
it's like literally I'm ripping my face off with a razor blade. So I'm at the moment I'm going just a quick one every day. But that has been me, and that's what I look like on weekends. So
yeah, excellent.
which is good. So
I was hoping I'd look all hipster, but I think I'm actually going to look like a sort of a recruitment Santa Claus by the time it's out.
yeah, I think you're going to need a bit more bush for hipster, and maybe just some grade 3 on the side and a
Yeah,
bit of wax on the top, and you'll be there. So we'll look forward to that at the next expo or something.
yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. So today, Neil, as you know, the recruitment industry is having a tough time of it at the moment.
Yeah,
And the whole goal of the recruiting stand-up is to help with strategies recruiters can think about to succeed.
yeah.
And you've been sort of on the record as saying the biggest danger to recruiters is that they start salami slicing their service offering and taking out bits of things that they used to do as opposed to rethinking what they do. Can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
Yeah, look, I think we all know that because of the way this is working, when the bounce back comes, maybe not all the way to 100%, but the bounce back from maybe 70% to 90% might come quite quickly as people turn things back on. But it'll come back in different shapes. Alex, I've spent years working with FTSE 250 HR directors in previous jobs and keeping in touch with them through the Good Recruitment Collective at the REC now. I don't know a single HR director who isn't going to use this as an opportunity to do everything that they thought they were going to do over the next 18 months to 2 years in the next 6 months or so. And that means clients' needs will have changed. And the critical question for recruiters is not being thinking about the V-shaped bounce back to what you were doing before, but what are our clients' problems now and how do we fix them? So what do you need to be doing? You need to be building those client conversations up in a much more service-led way rather than transactional.
Right.
About
So what you're telling me, Neil, is that I've got to, if I'm a business owner or a recruiter, I've got to stop thinking about vacancies and start talking more about what the business's strategy is going forward and how sort of people fit into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the business strategy, the people link into that, and most importantly, going in with the question, what is the problem I'm trying to solve for this business, rather than how can I shift my offer? How can I sell my offer? Because actually, when you know what the problem is, you'll have a clear idea of which of the range of solutions you probably already have or have the ability to deliver in your business applies.
Right. Okay. And can you give me an example of some of the transformations companies might be going through that recruiters could support with?
So if you think about what's a good example, well, if you think about a major supermarket chain, a lot of them have done home delivery in the past out of a store base. They've moved gradually into a logistics hub base. That's just going to get bigger. Home delivery is going to grow more, but you've got a much higher potential for automation in that kind of scenario. So what's the balance between capital investment, automation, robotics, and people, and what sort of people will they need in that business model rather than the business model they have now? Because if they're shifting business model, they're going to be shedding labor in the current business model and trying to grasp for it
Right.
in
What
in
you're
the new
saying is,
space.
so it could be that, say, for example, I recruit store managers for Sainsbury's at the moment. and I might have to engage with them about how I can help them with projects and change programs around logistics or distribution hubs or automation, or like, so they might be interested in people from Ocado, where in the past they were interested in people from Tesco. Is that about right?
Well, yeah, and if you recruit store managers, I think the job of a store manager will look different. So what new skills do they need? And I think the challenge for any recruiter in getting up the value chain like that is how you get a foot in the door. And so, when I talk about salami slicing, one of the things that's really easy for a recruitment business to do is to cut back on some of the marketing stuff and the positioning stuff. But we had on our REC pod last Friday, we had an HRD from a big client side company, and they said, "Look, right now I'm not recruiting, but I'm coming back to recruiting later in the year, and I'll go to the people who have ideas that help me. What you can be doing now is giving me things that make me think." So that whole piece about how are you talking to your clients about what's going on in the market? How are you helping them think about what they should be doing? In the same way as, say, the big lawyers do. We want to see ourselves as a professional services industry.
Yeah.
Let's behave like one.
So I guess in some ways, either finding or creating content around virtual onboarding and managing the challenges around that. So I know a lot of agencies have podcasts, and those podcasts need to be about topics that your clients are interested in. So like how not to interview someone on Zoom.
Yeah.
Does a proto beard impact your employer brand? Could be one.
Well, I don't think it does. I think we're all, these but no, it's actually a really good question, that, right? You tell me if office dress codes are going to be the same after this than before, because I don't think they're going to be.
Yeah.
And so there's a real issue about, what does business look like when we all go back? Because we're looking at a world where, I think probably full time probably doesn't mean 5 days a week in the office. After this, it probably means maybe 3, as we manage load on public transport, and we've demonstrated as a nation that we can be productive at home. I think the thing that those that have disappeared is those that used to exist around some managers when they used the phrase working from home.
Yeah, no, indeed, and I guess businesses. I guess if I was doing technology recruitment within some niches, I guess businesses can manage productivity a lot better because they will just look at the output, right? Yeah. It's not like working from home and everyone knows you're not really working. It's like, I'm working from home and everyone should expect. I was listening to a podcast on sales transformation, and actually a lot of businesses have had the same level of sales productivity from their reps, but that's because now they're just looking at the output. What's the value of your pipeline? And if you haven't got a big enough pipeline, then it means you're not working hard enough at home. And it's not a manager sitting above your shoulder.
Yeah, and I think that's a really big challenge internally for agencies. If I lift the lid on the REC helpline, I think one of the biggest questions we've had over the last few weeks has been, how do I manage remote desks well within recruitment businesses? And I think it's a really good time for recruitment business leaders to be thinking about the people that you have and starting to select on behaviors for the new world. So start thinking, we all know that there's going to be a smaller number of people working in the sector at the end of the year than there was at the start of the year. That is awful, but it is the reality of where we are. The critical thing business leaders should be thinking about in recruitment is which of these people have the behaviours to work in this new world that is about more remote working and how you manage people internally, but it's also about being able to have that value-added conversation that builds trust with a client, so that if they're not buying in May or June, they are buying in August and September.
I often talk, we've talked a lot about engaging in better questioning, because I think a bit like with candidates at the moment are thinking about their careers, not their next job. Yeah. And companies are thinking about their strategy and their business in the next 2-3 years, because gut feel, everyone says we're over the peak. There's a good argument to say this is just the first hill in the mountain range. And until basically 90% of the world have had it, or there's an effective vaccine, this is sort of a new normal maybe for a couple of years.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't over-index having to do another full lockdown. I think everyone knows that that'd be economically disastrous. But the way I've talked about it with ministers and kind of do the kind of work of the REC for the industry in Whitehall and Westminster is getting back from 70% of the economy to 90% of the economy is quite easy. You just start doing stuff again. 90 to 100 is really difficult in a world where we will still be social distancing. We will have we will be on the lookout. We'll have localized shutdowns, as Matt Hancock said recently, until that vaccine is there. For us as an industry, we need to be thinking now about how that changes our markets, because this is here for the long haul.
Yeah.
6 weeks ago, I divide the REC members that I talked to, sort of recruitment business leaders, into two. There were the 3-month mob and the 6 to 9 month mob. No one's in there. This will be done in 3 months anymore. Everyone knows that 2020 is just going to be a really tough year. The critical thing is, in tough times, good businesses innovate.
Yeah.
And that's the critical thing. Do not get stuck in the idea that what you need to do is cut costs and wait for it to turn. Start thinking about what the sustainable business model that can grow after that is.
And I think where what it will accelerate is that where there will be a big impact is companies will think about whether they need those internal recruiters in their business when they're not recruiting. And actually, I think there's a massive opportunity for smaller agencies to provide a mini RPO or an outsourced in-house recruitment company where they charge a retainer and a low fee. I think when you've got local agencies working for local companies, they can be that internal recruitment team and actually and lock that business in. It's not about give me the job. It's like, here's the product, here's the solution that we can deliver.
Already saying that, and actually, I think companies should be quite comfortable with that. I do think there is a role for internal recruitment, but internal recruitment's job is different. It should really be about onboarding and thinking about recruitment as part of the wider offer the organisation makes to make sure people come on board and get productive quickly in the right sorts of ways in the company. The actual work of recruitment is, and I think after this will be even more so, held by specialists operating in the orbit of the company, like the kind of mini RPO that you mentioned.
Yeah, and I think it's getting away from that sort of just that hunt for the multi-agency vacancy where you're sort of living on a prayer.
Yeah.
And actually, the agencies, even the last 4 years that I've seen succeed, are the ones that are either in a really tight niche that they own, or they manage to lock in that client commitment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the pressure to have to find fresh business every day that you might or might not fill reduces, and that allows you to hire a different profile of person in the organisation.
Yeah, look, nobody wants to be Marks and Spencers in this, right? Too expensive to be cheap and basic, too widespread to be niche and attractive for the brand. The industry will do two things. It'll lock in long-term staffing relationships at volume. That will always be a bit more transactional, but you'll be looking for partnerships that last years. There on probably on thinner margins, but at good volume. And at the other end, you're looking for people with deep niche specialist knowledge of difficult sectors to fill. And believe me, everyone is going towards digital, towards online, because they know that's how it's going. The market's going to change it. That's why, if you look at the contract market, while the contract market I think is down about 40% overall, the sectors where it's down least, away from the ones where there are coronavirus effects like healthcare and logistics, is IT. So I think that I think you'll see the industry. You'll either have to be doing one or other of those two things going forward.
Yeah. Okay. And I think. I mean, my friend's a partner in a law firm, and he says that what's happened in, say, for example, retail is what was going to happen over the next 5 years is happening to be done in 3 months. So that ability to deliver. And I think every business is waking up thinking, can we deliver our business virtually? Because if we can't, we don't make any money. And training industry is a really great example, right? We've been online for a year, but suddenly every trainer's online because there's no face-to-face anymore.
Mm. And that's and all of these things are accelerators, aren't they? They're just accelerators of trends. There are some things which I think are new, and have been forced through by this, and maybe are accelerating from 30 years to 5 years. Who wants a 10,000 square foot office in central London now? The answer to that being possibly not the REC actually anymore. So I'm just putting my landlord on warning.
Yeah. And the people that aren't sitting in there at the moment. So
yeah, well, look, we shut down before Boris, and actually I've had more productivity out of the REC team in the last 3 months than in the last 3 months we were in the office, because people are focused, they're very purpose driven. There's a lot to do for the industry because the industry is in crisis. People work in all hours. My biggest issue is inside the REC right now is getting people to get the work-life balance right, and that's really difficult at home, and it's challenging our managers. So there's a whole slew of things. Talking to one of the big recruitment industry leaders last week, and he was saying, look, we furloughed a load of staff when the scheme first launched, and we kept a load of staff on to keep running the business. My problem right now is these guys are itchy, these guys are knackered.
Yeah.
And actually, people thinking about, well, do we take some of the staff we didn't furlough and get them onto furlough before the scheme goes, and pull some staff off furlough to almost that late substitution to try and get to get things going. So there's a whole slew of new management challenges, and I think as an industry, we probably need to invest in how we think about managing our consultants to get them through this, because it is going to be hard yakka, as the Aussies would say, for the next 6 months at least,
and also
building relationships.
I think also we're lucky. I'm sure you've got a garden and you've got an office, a bedroom or something you can turn into an office. But if you look at the demographic of the person that typically joins recruitment, they don't have a spare room to have as an office. They might be living in a shared flat with the other young professionals, 3 of them working around a boardroom table. And that sort of trying to get work done with kids is difficult. But even if you're just literally laptop on your bed and you get up and you see your laptop and then you go to sleep and the last thing you see is your laptop and the first thing you see is your laptop, that can be potentially quite challenging in the months ahead.
Yeah, look, I absolutely get that. And I think part of it is about encouraging people to think about how they schedule their time. I mean, lots of us did a bit of working from home occasionally before this, and the challenge is always that you lose that kind of decompression space. And we've done a lot of the REC on mental health for recruiters in the last few months, because even just applying it to people who commute, your time in on the train in the morning or in the car is thinking time before the day, and your time on the way back is decompression time. So by the time Alex gets home and sees the kids, there's a bit of space between the stresses of the day and home life. If that's gone, that affects both work and home. Yeah. And I think we do need to be thinking about the sustainability of people's working. And it's actually why, having been really sceptical about office space earlier, I do think the death of the office stuff is probably overblown, just because you innovate better when you're all together, and you need space to get that external stimulus. So I think offices are smaller, not non-existent.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I was at a meeting, I was at an event in Deloitte's offices in London, and they've got space for 5,000 people, but it supports 20 or something like that. And it's that the human contact is still important. I think collaboration is easier when you're noodling ideas, brainstorming, sense of belonging. Sometimes Janice not making a cup of tea right is actually part of what makes work, which is good. So, Neil, we've got a minute left. We've run over, but you're going through fantastic stuff today. Just give us 1 minute of what the REC are doing for their members and why it's a great organisation to join.
So the REC is Britain's recruitment voice. We have access into government at a critical time like this that no one else has. It enables us to give you the best advice on government schemes, but also we're about standards in the industry. So that's about how we help businesses step up on the challenges that we've talked about there, about getting into that service-based proposition. Make sure we keep you legal with the legal advice, but more important than that now, thinking about how we're reshaping our market and our industry. And what I've found really powerful is that the way the REC networks online have really reshaped in the last couple of months and become much more focused on how do we get through this together. I think there's a real pride in the industry now that's come through having to all be in the trenches together through this tough time. The REC is all about grabbing hold of that and powering out the other side. So you talk about our plan for recovery. Our plan for recovery is all about how does the industry have a place as a key opinion former and a super successful professional services industry in the new economy that Britain is building. And if you want a part of that, you know where we are. Come and find us, rec.uk.com. New website too. It's very pretty.
There we are, Neil. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. We could talk all day about some of this stuff, so it's benefit to the members for the insight that you're sharing, and thanks for your work with the government as well. If there's one industry that's going to fight tooth and nail for this, it's the recruitment industry, because it's hard even when it's good. So the tough got tougher, but the fit are going to get fitter. So thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Cheers, Neil. Bye.